Hey there, friends. Today I'd like to talk with you about the terrorism of happiness. Sounds terrible, you say. I don't know why you say that. I don't know why I say that you say that. But the terrorism of happiness, I'm borrowing this term from a friend of mine, Garrick Brennan, and I love the term terrorism of happiness. Why? Because I think when we try to make our lives only happy, when we try to be happy all the time, I think it does actually terrible things to us. I think it actually makes us incredibly unhappy to try and pursue 24/7 happiness. That seems interesting, you say, JP. And again, I don't know why I say that you say that. But anyway, on with the show. The terrorism of happiness. When we try to be happy all the time, to me, it's like looking at a rainbow and saying, I wish there was only blue in that rainbow. I wish that whole rainbow was the color blue. Blue might be our favorite color. Happiness might be our favorite emotion. But there seems to be a reason why life puts 6 other colors in the rainbow. There seems to be a reason, in my opinion, why life puts many other emotional frequencies in our body to experience. But why do we try to block all of them out but happiness? Well, why it's like looking at, why would I try to erase all the colors out of the rainbow except for my favorite color? So I do think this is kind of a public service call to embrace everything in us that's also not happiness. That's what I'd invite you to do. By all means, please do embrace happiness. I personally want deep and profound happiness in my life. But I don't want my life to be only that. Even if I did want that, I don't think I could get it. I think I could probably cause a lot of suffering trying to get only deep and profound happiness in my life. So what I find when we try to be exclusive with just happiness, it causes us to have a lot of shame about our other real, authentic feelings and emotions. It's like we look at Facebook, we look at other people in our lives, where we see other people just presenting happiness. They hide their other stuff. They've got it. They don't show it to us. We pretend like they don't have it, but they've got it. So they just show us their happiness, probably because when they were children just like us, they were validated when they were happy. And they were probably invalidated when they weren't happy. It's like a little boy or a girl sitting on the floor acting happy. Mom and dad say, good boy, good girl. But when they're sad, when they're angry, Mom and dad are trying to get them to feel something other than the sadness, other than the anger, other than the fear, other than the shame. So that's what we learn as kids. Therefore, that's what we kind of see adult children doing, only presenting happiness because we feel as though I can be validated when I'm happy, but I'll be invalidated. I won't matter when I'm not happy. So we see this trick society plays on us. We see other people being happy all the time, or at least that's only what they show us. So we start to think that, that's what I should be. Therefore, when I have these other authentic feelings that come up, sadness, depression, we start to have shame about those. And I do think that does us an injustice. When we have shame about our non-happy emotions, it's like we revoke permission to feel them. And I would dare say that pursuit of happiness that causes us to shame ourselves for being authentic and real with our other emotions can make us pretty damn unhappy. I would also dare say one of the other elements of how the pursuit of exclusive happiness can make us very unhappy is this. We live in a relative world. You need to know hot before you can know cold. You need to know sadness if you want to know happiness. You need to know hate if you want to know love. So with that said, when we are pursuing exclusive happiness, oftentimes we do that at the expense of denying our sadness in this case. So the more we deny our sadness, the less we're able to go into our sadness. And the less we're able to go into our sadness, the less we're actually able to go into our happiness, because we're relative creatures. The depth of my tears determines the depth of my laugh. As sad as I can get, that's how happy I can get. So when I deny my sadness because I say, JP, you can only be happy, that actually limits the depth of happiness that I can go in. So when I don't allow myself to get sad, that starts to make my experience of happiness more and more shallow. And as my experience of happiness gets more and more shallow, it makes me want to pursue exclusive happiness even more, which means I'm probably denying sadness with more force, which means my ability to be happy gets even more shallow. So, because I love happiness, that means I also have to learn to love sadness. Fear, anger, guilt, grief, jealousy, shame. I've got to learn how to love those. Doesn't mean I have to like them. It means I have to learn how to accept them and embrace them. To the degree I can get sad, give myself permission to be real with my sadness. Even though it feels crappy and sad in that very moment, that's what fertilizes my ability to grow genuine happiness to likely a new degree. And this is not an indictment that you need to go out and make yourself sad. You need to go out and break up with your spouse so that you can just have an excuse to feel sad so that you can then oscillate to the other polarity of newfound happiness. I don't think we need to go out and seek and create new sadness. I think all we need to do is embrace the sadness that arises. We don't need to find sadness. It finds us. When we have an experience in life that's essentially triggering of sadness, it comes up, it finds us. All we need to do is learn how to look our sadness in the eyes and say, it's okay that you're a part of me. I feel sad and it's okay. And I'll keep feeling sad until I'm not sad anymore. And that's okay. It'll feel like crap in the moment. It's not going to be my favorite emotion. But if I want to be happy, if I want to be genuinely happy at times, then I have to be genuinely sad at times. That's something to think about. Happiness is my favorite emotion. And if it was left to my greedy little ego, my ego would probably say, yeah, I want to be happy all the time. Luckily for me, I don't get everything I want. I would guess sometimes, screw that. I would guess most of the time, if you and I got what we want all the time, it would be one of the worst things for us. Because we have to think, what part of us is wanting this want? Our spirit self is probably sitting there pretty whole and complete, doesn't have a whole lot of wantingness. At least I want to believe that. Our ego probably comes from a place of lack, void, and therefore generates a lot of our wants. Not saying it's bad to pursue our wants. I'm just saying it's probably good that we don't get everything we want all the time. I want to be happy all the time. Follow that breadcrumb trail of our ego. I want to be happy, and paradoxically, it probably lands us in a lot of unhappiness. My favorite food is ice cream. It's probably a really good thing that I don't always fill up on my favorite food. Probably a good thing I don't always fill up on just the pursuit of sadness. Happiness is what I meant. I'm sad that I screwed that up. And in this moment, I'll just be real with you. I'm not really happy in this moment. I actually feel sad. And I don't need to give you or me a story to justify why I have the right to feel sad. Emotions work without logic. I would dare say any story that you and I start to create about our sadness begins to disconnect us from our sadness. Our stories about why we're sad probably start to suppress our sadness. I'll tell myself a story about my sadness to try and leverage me towards happiness, which means I'm leveraged away from my sadness, which means my depth of happiness is going to be shallow relative to what it would be if I allowed myself to deep dive into my feeling of sadness without a story. We don't need to prove we have the right to feel sad. All we need to do is feel sad when our sadness finds us. And I would dare say when we can do that, we'll no longer be terrorized by happiness. Sit with that. How can happiness terrorize your life? And how can paradoxically pursuing permission to be sad amplify your happiness? Is the purpose of life to experience one color, or is the purpose of life to experience every color of the rainbow? It's a good question. With that said, I appreciate you dancing with me on this little terrorism of happiness deal that I needed to hear myself talk about, or else I probably wouldn't be talking about it. So I appreciate you allowing me to talk to myself at you. And with that said, please feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I'll be looking forward to talking with you next time.